Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 7 of Just a Couple of Thoughts. I'm Kevin, and I'm the only one of the regular host here. Sarah's on vacation right now.
Bye, Sara.
Yes, and as you heard, we have our friend here. What do you want to be referred to as? Would you rather be referred to as your regular name or your screen name?
My regular cool-ass screen name? Nah. I think you guys should humble me with just my regular name. Hi. My name's Ben.
So, you actually, between all of our friends, you actually have an internet presence.
It's a small one, but I do enjoy it, yes.
You say small. Okay, I guess relative it is small, yes. But it's bigger than most people, I would say.
Oh.
Okay, it's bigger than the average person, obviously, right? Because the average person almost has no internet presence. So you're not up there with even mid-tier YouTubers who have around 1,000-ish, not 100,000 subscribers, or 10,000. But you have about how many Twitter followers do you have?
On Twitter, I currently have around 560 or something. But then on my old blogs before Twitter, it was rounded up to the 4,000s.
Yeah. So you actually, if someone. There's definitely someone who follows you. You actually have a fan base. That wouldn't be an exaggeration, right?
They like me, I hope.
All right. Well, let's properly introduce you as your actual screen name then.
All right. Hi. My online alias is Kaips, Kaips. I don't know how to perfectly pronounce it, so I just call it Kai in any case.
What do you mean you don't know how to perfectly?
I don't know, because in the beginning, the name was Kaipo, Kaipo, which was some sort of Hawaiian name, but then it ended up being Kaips because one of my cool friends just said, "Hey, Kaips." I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna stick with that. So I just stuck with that my entire life now. But because of how it's pronounced, I have no idea how it's actually pronounced. So it's people either say Capes or Kaips. I just say Kai.
Okay, Kai. I mean, I'm just saying, because it is your screen name. You could pronounce it however you want.
I have no idea how to actually pronounce it, so I'm just sticking with Kai.
Okay, Kai.
Hey.
Well, on the podcast, I usually I refer to Sarah as her just regular name. So I'm just gonna, unless the guest wants me to do so, I'm just gonna call you by your regular name. Is that okay, Ben?
I'll take that.
All right. So, why don't you continue introducing yourself to tell the audience about yourself before we actually get into our topics?
Hi, my name is Ben. I'm 24 years old, male, Chinese, live in California.
Okay, a little bit too much detail.
All right, great. I'm just a friend of Kevin and Sarah's. So by mutual getting to know each other, we finally got ourselves into substituting Sarah with me for the day.
For the podcast, yes.
For the podcast, yes.
So, so for those who don't know Kai or Kaips or Ben, you are an artist.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, to be more specific, you're a graphic designer. That's your actual job.
Yes, I do freelance graphic design with illustrations, drawings, and making business cards and post boards. And basically, my motto is, if you can see it, I can make it.
Ah, okay. So, so that's generally what you do, but you also do lots of just regular art online.
Yes.
Mostly on Tumblr?
Tumblr, Twitter, I usually just shove whatever I can feel like there. It's mostly just me doodling and having fun with friends from time to time.
Yeah. Yeah, just a little bit more about yourself. What do you do?
Let's see. So I've built up my online alias for about 5 years. I've started about 5 years ago with the internet, and ever since then just kept on building a small little fan base, doing doodles here and there, and it's nice. It's nice to have some sort of welcoming feeling online and helping me feel reassured about myself, and just running a blog is fun.
Yeah, that's kind of the main difference between me and Sarah and most other people who are more active on the internet, is that we are one step away from being active on the internet. We're kind of just we know about all the internet stuff, but we do not actively participate in it. You know what I mean?
You guys are the internet historians, but then you won't actually act in the wars.
I don't even know I would call some historians, but yes. So like for instance, I know that you used to frequent 4chan, right?
It's mostly my girlfriend who actually does that a little bit. I just know how to use it. If
That's right, your girlfriend.
Oh yeah. So
Well, since this is a couples podcast, might as well talk about your girlfriend too,
Oh, yeah.
who has a bigger internet presence than you do.
Exactly. So, hi, my name is Ben, and my girlfriend, I don't know if she would want to be called by her real name, but I'll just call her PK Bunny. Yeah, no, take my internet face and just multiply it by about 10, you'll get her. She has a lot more presence on the websites than I do.
Well, to be fair, like, I'm pretty sure both of you, I'm going to check this right now. If I look up just PK Bunny, she's the first result. And if I look up Kaips, you are also the first result.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, your Twitter, your Tumblr comes up.
I tried to fight all those other Hawaiian guys to get the first results. I feel bad, but at the same time, I'm pretty proud.
Yeah, so I feel like people start having internet presence when they're the first result of Google when they look up their name, right?
Yeah.
Or at least a screen name. I think that's like the start of like you are at least recognized.
Well, I mean, in that case, it also depends on your username from time to time. Like,
Yeah.
if your username is Big Dick Energy 69, it probably won't show up on Google if you first search it up. Oh yeah, just so you guys know, me and PK are a couple, and I thought it'd be convenient to bring it onto this, podcast, which is couples talking with each other.
Yeah, and surprisingly enough, my username is actually unique enough that's the first result.
Really?
Yes, if you look up Wakamechi, my Twitch comes up.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so
Is there other Wakamechis though?
I don't think so. That's the thing. So I guess it's unique enough.
Oh, then what does Wakamechi stand for?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Actually, no. Technically nothing. The way I got that username. Yeah, and yes, generally my username for stuff is Wakamechi. I use Wakamechi. I'm gonna go through my history of usernames. Do you have a history of usernames?
I do.
All right. After I go, you go. So I actually have a history of usernames. So before my username was just like it would just be like my the birthday date, like so 11 like 3 whatever, right?
Right.
And then the year. So it's like those people who are like, oh, this is like this is John Smith, like 11/14/1995 or something like that, right? XX, right? And after that, I had a middle school username, which is something I am both simultaneously embarrassed and not embarrassed about. It is Infinite Dark Angel, which is unique enough that it is not taken in almost anything. Yeah, I think the way I got that name was I like the word infinity a lot, right?
Right.
So I would just type in infinity and I was like, that would be taken because that's a common thing. And I was edgy, so I put in dark. So it'd be infinity dark. That didn't work. So I'd do infinite dark, right? And infinite dark worked for a lot of sites, but not all of them. So I add on Angel on there. So Infinite Dark Angel was my middle school username for the longest time. And actually it lasted me a super long time because I was too lazy to make an actual username that I'm more comfortable using.
Right.
Because I never had an internet presence. So I was never really embarrassed about it because no one knew who I was. And eventually I got Wakamechi. And the way I got Wakamechi is I was in college. I was playing old DS games.
Huh.
And I was playing a Tamagotchi game. And so for Tamagotchi, they'll always ask you to put the name in, and then they'll add the chi at the end. Right?
Right.
So I just put down like Wakamech, and basically it filled in. Because Wakamech, I think, it only allowed 8 characters. So I filled in all the 8 characters, and then it added in the chi.
Right.
So Wakamechi, and I just liked the way it sounded, so I just kept that throughout the entire time.
Honestly, it's pretty cool.
So that's my username. It came from a Tamagotchi game, and now it's unique enough that it's first was on Google.
Hey, it works for everywhere too.
Yeah. For the most part, it was taken on Twitter, actually.
What?
Yeah, someone had Wakameji on Twitter. And so my Twitter handle, which I never update, so don't even bother following me, is KL Wakameji.
Oh. Well, I think I already follow you on Twitter, though.
Yeah, you do. I don't use it.
No,
really.
you don't use it. Your icon's not even updated or anything.
No.
It just exists.
No, neither on Twitch. I don't have an icon for Twitch.
Huh.
Because I don't have an icon in general. Like, I know you, if you look up Kaips, your icon will always be that cat symbol.
Yeah.
Or one of your older symbols. But like, it's recognizably your art, right?
Right.
I don't do art. I don't do graphic design. And I don't really have an icon. So it's just whatever I feel like putting up on there.
We'll fix you up with one at the end of this day then.
Sure, if you want. Like, I know my icon for Discord is a panel from Blue Chair. Do you know who Blue Chair is? Shen?
I don't know any chairs that are blue.
Do you know Bike Cuck?
Okay, I don't know any cucks that are bikes.
No, you don't know that meme?
What?
Yeah, it was a meme.
Okay, for what basis? Like something on JonTron?
No, it was an old comic meme because
Oh, okay, comic stuff. Then you'll get into it. I have never really touched a comic.
No, because it was a very popular meme on Twitter and for YouTube for a very short while. But like PewDiePie did a meme review on it where it's basically the character in the comic is called Shen, right?
Right.
Because that's his screen name, and so he gets his bike stolen, right? And
Shen Comics.
Yeah, Shen Comics.
Okay, no, I know that dude.
Yeah, he makes Blue Chair, and Blue Chair is basically like these short skit stories that he posts on Webtoons, and one of the Webtoons was like a stolen bike thing.
Oh yeah, that one got really, really popular.
Yeah,
I know. Okay. So
and that meme was called Bike Cuck.
Okay.
Yeah, it got to the point where he made a comic on Shen where he was just like he was like, I had to sacrifice you, and it's just like the imperformancism of like his dignity, and then he was selling prints of the bike cuck. But yeah, like so it's actually a panel from one of his comics where he's just sitting on like a chair and there's flames beneath him. He's like, yes, entertain me, basically. So I just post up whatever as my icon usually. I don't have a standard icon.
Okay.
So what about you? What's your history with the usernames?
Okay, so back then, when I first started like MMOs and games like that, it used to be like Maniac 1994 because I was born in 1994.
Why Maniac?
I don't know. I thought it sounded cool. I had that for my Neopets.
I mean, okay, to be fair, I thought Infinity sounded cool. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So, then I forgot the password to my email, so I was like, dang, I can't use that anymore. So I completely gave up on that. I lost all my Neopets. My Neopets are probably starving right now. I feel really bad for them, but it's okay. Then I moved on to using like Tumblr. I'm like, oh, great. I could just put my real name as my my internet handle. I was like, it's kind of dumb. And it's also funny because you mentioned how you got your username from a DS game, right?
Yeah.
I got mine from a DS game called Digimon World Championship DS.
I thought you just said you got yours as Kaips, or are you talking about Kaipo?
Yes.
Oh, you're talking about Kaipo. Okay.
Yeah. So I caught an Agumon, and the random name generator came up as Raikou.
Okay.
And then I caught a Gabumon, and it was Kaipo. I was like, oh wow, these are two cool names. I'm keeping these two. I'm treasuring you two for the rest of my life. A month later, my DS got stolen and I lost them. But but I kept Raikou as my username online. And I'm like, dang, that's actually pretty cool. So let me change it to King Raikou. Because,
I remember that.
You remember King Raikou?
I remember seeing like some of your old logins as King Raikou or whatever. Oh, it was like for some other random
Skype.
site.
It was probably Skype. Yeah, it was Skype. I had King Raikou on Skype.
Yeah.
And then I followed someone who was named Queen Rai. I'm like, wow, I feel really bad. They're probably a little bit more popular than me, so let me just change my username so it doesn't sound like we're related to one another. So I just changed to Kaipo the Asian guy. I'm like, no, adding the Asian guy bit to the end is kind of really weird. So just went to Kaipo. Then one of my friends just called me Kaips out of the blue. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm stuck with it. I'm just Kaips.
You just Kaips now.
Kaips.
Yeah, because I know I made Infinite Dark Angel for a reason. Because I could have just done like my name and then like 1995 or whatever, right? Or just something in 1995. But I distinctly did not want to have dates or even numbers in my username because I thought numbers and usernames just look ugly.
Right.
Which is why I thought of just like words. And because I was an edgy middle school boy, Infinite Dark Angel was the first words I came up with. So I see. So yours actually have like a regular plot progression in how you got your username, more or less. Mine was just jumping to like, oh, it's just a rendered like kind of like a work email name, right? It's just like, oh, my name and then the date, and then Infinite Dark Angel, the middle school me, and then Wakamechi, which is me now. I'm more comfortable with Wakamechi. I feel like if I get called by it like online or whatever, I know what they're talking about at least.
Right.
Right. And I'm not like cringing over Wakamechi. Unless like people actually point out like, is that Tamagotchi name? And I'm like, yeah, sort of. But you're never gonna find a Tamagotchi named Wakamechi, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Because I believe I also purposely made Wakamechi, formatted it in a way that it does not directly it can't directly translate to a Tamagotchi name. Because I believe like there's some other small rules that Tamagotchi need to have.
Tamagotchi has like a whole lore based on names?
Sort of. There's like a formatting for the end. And Wakamechi does not fully commit to it, basically. I think it's the T part. But like, because it's met and then chi.
Okay.
So I think the like MET and then chi, that kind of breaks the rules for Tamagotchis. Oh, I know why. What? Because Tamagotchis, all their names are based on the Japanese language.
Oh.
So you can do wa, you can do ka, but you can't do met. You could do me, but you can't put that T in before the chi.
Okay.
Yeah. So you will never find a Tamagotchi named Wakamechi.
Yeah, you're your own unique, unofficial Tamagotchi.
I guess so.
I mean, if you ever do build up a internet personality or a presence, people could just nickname you to Waka or something. I
guess it could. I mean, like, I'll be a little bit more confused what they're talking about because I feel like Waka is a little bit too common.
Right.
I try to make my usernames as unique as possible, hence Infinite Dark Angel. Because the reason why it became that long and that like edgy is because that will almost never get taken. But like Wakamechi was something that was simple enough and like I found was rarely taken that I can use it. But this podcast is popular enough and some asshole out here just decides to take the name everywhere. He's gonna start up the name on every single MMO he knows and pops it up on YouTube, Yahoo, Bing. God, I remember when that used to be a problem for some people on like old school YouTube, right? Where they were just a lot of the like people who do games will get the username stolen basically before they actually get to play the game. Oh, wait, like people purposely made the username just so they can't play it? Yeah. Oh, okay. Like, there was lots of like Nigahigas out in different MMOs. Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so they would just like purposely like, just try to take their names before anyone else can, before even the actual person can play it. So I know that used to be a problem. I don't know about now. Well, for me, it's still a problem, mostly because Kaipo is just a generic Hawaiian name, if anything. So it's everywhere. People take Kaipo, Kaips, Kipps. Isn't Kaipo also the thing like Mughal say? Kupo. Oh, that's right. It's Kupo, not Kaipo. I like that. I'm gonna keep that in mind. Make a Mughal OC that just says Kaipo. My Mughal Sona. I am not gonna let this down. Watch. Pam's gonna draw that for you now. She's gonna listen to this podcast because you guys listen to this podcast. We listen to it like consistently from time to time. Like we pop open rabbits.tv and we just listen, watch memes, watch anime together at the same time. So we get to listen to your podcasts from here and there.
It's nice. It's really nice to get to check out how our friends are doing, especially since Pam really, really likes listening to podcasts, and I've never really touched on podcasts before.
Yeah, so because I really like podcasts. That's the whole reason I like doing podcasts.
It's like you're with friends, but not.
Yeah, sort of.
Less lonely.
It depends on the podcast. Some podcasts are solo, like it's just them
Talking by themselves?
Yeah, sort of. They'll just have a topic they don't want to talk about. It's more like a TED talk than anything, usually.
I'm going to be honest, I don't know what a TED Talk is.
It's like a lecture.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. A lot of people will have like podcasts by themselves. It's not as common as like, I think Hello Internet, which is another podcast I listen to, refers to it as two heads talking, which is just one person and another person. It's just kind of like an interview style, except it's back and forth.
Okay.
But some other podcasts will have like group of people. I know H3H3 it's just those Ethan and what's her name? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, not really, because I know nothing about podcasts.
Yeah, it's Ethan Klein and something. Oh, I forgot her name. I feel bad.
Kevin Klein?
No, Ethan Klein. But yeah, he will have him and his girlfriend and then a guest on, and sometimes like the sound people will also talk to. But it's a live YouTube podcast.
Oh, wait. I think there is a podcast I sort of check out, but it's only whenever my sister just slaps it on TV. It's a girl who's always talking and eating food at the exact same time.
Okay.
She's
It sounds like one of those Twitch, like, IRL streams.
It's sort of like that. Yeah, no, it's basically like that, if anything else, except that they got like really good food. They got a hot pot or a stove just cooking food, heating up food while they eat it all in front of the camera.
Yeah, it sounds like one of those like Twitch IRL streams, or the was it mukbang, the YouTube thing where they just eat food.
Just eat food, no talking or anything.
I don't know if they talk. I just know like it's a Korean thing, and then they just eat food. Sarah will know more about it.
Oh, okay.
She doesn't really watch the videos, but she knows about it.
God, I'd like to do that one day. Just get paid to eat food.
You can. You have an audience.
Oh, that's the thing.
You're just not a hot girl. You need to get Pam to do it with you. That's the thing.
Ah, damn, that would be working. But I mean, I can either be a hot girl or I could just get the gay guy audience.
Get the gay guy audience.
The audience of just one gay guy. He pays.
Just a gay guy. Just a single gay guy is like, okay, hi Ben.
Hey, how you doing? My name's Ben. I'm already taking, but
Donate if you want.
Give me some singles.
But yeah, like I really enjoy podcasts. I listen to it on my commute all the time. But I just don't follow a lot of podcasts. I have like very certain podcasts I listen to.
Right.
Other than that, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Let's see. Oh, all right. I wanted to bring up the topic of small little things that make you happy in life.
Okay. Well, why don't you start? Because I'm curious what you're talking about. Because I'm not entirely sure what you're talking about.
Well, I didn't think about like how I would really stretch this out. So, it's just a small topic I wanted to bring up. Like, whenever I'm driving, I see some people crossing the street, and sometimes some people will make a sprint and go a little bit faster so that I can pass.
And that makes you happy?
That makes me genuinely really happy, honestly. Like, whenever I'm the people walking by and someone lets me pass, they stop in front of me, and while I'm running in front of them, I always make a heart symbol. And I love seeing how they would just smile up, and just making someone feel happy makes me feel happy.
Well, I can tell you one thing. This is going to be a very short thing on my side. Because I don't get happiness from other people like that. I'm trying to think of like small things that make me happy. I guess other than my girlfriend, obviously, because otherwise I wouldn't be with her. Like, there's nothing that like small things that make me happy often. Because it's usually just me just getting through life. Because you know me. Like, I'm working now, so most of my time is dedicated to work,
Right.
Or playing games, which I guess playing games make me like sort of happy. It's it's not a fun that it's not a thing that I would kind of describe as happy.
It really just passes your time, if anything.
I don't even know if it's that, because passes time is like YouTube for me.
Huh.
But games is something different. It's like it's fun, but I'm not sure I'll call it making me happy.
I don't think you have to say enjoying something as happy, if anything, then.
No, because I definitely enjoy it.
Okay.
I'm just using the word happy for it just doesn't sound right. It's because to me, like, happy is like something that brings me like joy, right?
Right.
And in playing games, like, I enjoy doing it, but it doesn't bring me joy. I don't know like how to exactly describe it, honestly.
It's your infinite darkness that's holding onto your heart. It won't let you go, man.
No, because like it's not the same kind of happiness that I get from like getting a gift, right? Getting a gift makes people happy, right?
Right.
And if I got a gift, yes, that'll make me happy. But that's not the same happiness I get from playing like games, or like from being with Sarah, or from like being with Sarah, like, that's the same kind of happiness.
Right.
Being with Sarah like makes me happy in a way that like, oh, it's similar to like to getting a gift or getting a present, or like it makes me happy in a way that like oh, like I want to do this more because it makes me happy. Playing games is not like that for me. Playing games is something like, oh, I like doing this, and that's it. It's very like a base emotion.
Does it feel like a chore, or like you're learning something off of it, though?
No, it definitely doesn't feel like a chore.
Okay.
Learning something might be closer to it.
I always thought about it like that, because if any case, it might be like for the type of people who want to build their own stories, their own lores, or their own gameplay. They like to play games to learn different aspects of gameplay so that they can try to see if they can mesh it into their own inner game they have on the inside of their brains.
I know what you mean by that. Like, because like, for instance, when I played Lisa,
Right.
Lisa the Painful, playing that game made me really think about like how games are, right? So like knowing, like, playing the game for the game mechanics, like Lisa, is something that I enjoy doing, and like I enjoy like thinking about. I would never personally become a game developer. That is something that's like way out of my scope, and it's something I never want to do.
You
personally.
never want to do it, or
I never want to be a game developer. It's hell.
okay. Well, what about if you have your own story and you would like to see it fleshed out?
I would rather outsource it.
Okay.
I would rather sell my story and get less of the profit than actually try to make it as a game and get more of the profit.
Okay, so you just want to see it fleshed out, if anything. You're not really in for the money.
Yeah, if I have a story I want to see fleshed out, I would rather give it to someone else so they can flesh it out if they choose to, right? If they choose to, or I pay them.
Okay.
One or the other.
It's not just for games, but also for comic ideas and all these other sort of stories that you have as well.
Yeah, like for instance, like I'm not gonna go into them because they're some of the ideas I still want to do, obviously.
Right.
Like the detective story that we wanted to make a game of a long time ago. I still want to do that, just maybe in a different format now. Like I maybe want to do it as a comic, or maybe I want to do it as like just like a short like internet story.
Yeah.
Right.
Visual novel.
Yeah.
Dating simulator.
Or just something else, but maybe not as like a game, like how we intended to in the beginning.
Right.
Or like the fantasy idea I wanted to give you, and if you want to do it, that is an idea that I would rather have someone else do, than rather have myself do. And if they choose to pick it up, or if they choose to, or if I pay them to do it, or they just completely drop it, that's fine with me, right?
Would the reason for that be because of time, resources, or skills?
It's a combination of skills and I don't want to say time, because time kind of implies like, oh, I just don't have the time to do it. That's not true. If I really wanted to, I could definitely do it. But it's more of like I feel like my ideas, or at least some ideas, I would say like at least 5% of my ideas are worth fleshing out. But I don't think that I am the person to flesh them out.
Okay.
right? For instance, like the fantasy idea I wanted to do,
Right.
like for those people we mentioned before, but Sarah's also an artist, right? She also draws and is also she's an illustrator. So for her, I would want to do the detective story I want to do. The thing is, detective's really hard to write for. Like mystery is really hard to write for.
You have to think of the whole situation.
Yeah, you have to think of the whole thing
the
and
whole
like
plot twist and everything else.
yeah, in the story I want to do has a definitive end too. So it's something I want to completely flesh out before I hand it over, right?
Right.
So that is something that it would take a while for me to even hand over. But the other thing so that's something I want to give to Sarah because I feel like her art style and the way that the feeling that she has with her art is mostly similar to what I want to do for that story.
Right.
Meanwhile, the fantasy idea I want to do is a fantasy comedy thing. And I feel like Sarah's art style is not, I'm not saying she can't do it, but it's not something that I would want for the story, which is why I would rather give it to you personally.
The story is more based on like a more humorous thing, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would rather give it to you rather than Sarah or someone else art style, which is more like, I don't want to say straightforward, but more in a polished style, because Sarah's art style is not like this super polished style, and that's like kind of what I like about it. It's kind of like not exactly rough or not even unfinished, but it's not like it's not in a way that you can describe as super clean.
It has the art style geared towards like a more detailed and more emotional tones, if anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's more emotional. It's more like personal, right? That's why her art style works really well in traditional art styles. Right. While the common idea I want for you is something I feel like I would rather have like a more polished, more like digital art style.
A more playful tone because it doesn't really need to have like a whole deep backstory to everything else. It's just
it doesn't need to be like super detailed. It doesn't need to have all this, but it needs. But it doesn't necessarily need to be like this. But I would prefer to have a feel of like a more playful tone and more polished, more like welcoming is not the right word, but like more like comforting tone, right? So for me, like those two ideas are something I would rather hand off to other people. And if like, cause the only thing that like I feel like I can do that I feel like it would be all right for my skill level is just write.
Have you ever thought of like setting out since your personal media can't be brought out to comics or into video games by your own hands, but like have you ever thought about making books?
I have. I've written a lot before. Definitely in high school. I've written a lot. They're not good. I'm not gonna say they're good, but I have them like published in like very small amounts, right? Like maybe like 1,000 books.
You have 1,000 books made?
No, I mean 1,000 books will be published.
Ah, okay.
So I think in terms of total books I have about like 20 books and like 50 books published, and they're all like just spread out somewhere in like a pen name to which I'll never share with anybody.
I'll find it one day, I'm pretty sure.
No, you won't.
Okay, well,
they're so disconnected from me. Like it's literally will be impossible for you to find unless you like someone did like a background search on me.
No, I'll pass on that. It's too much effort.
It really is just too much effort for like books that may or may not even exist anymore. Like they, because it's not hard to publish a book. For those people who was wondering, it's really not hard to publish a book. To publish a book well is different. that's different. But to like publish a book and just to have it up somewhere, because like when I wrote these books, they were before like Amazon books were a big thing,
right?
Or before like online sources was a big thing,
right?
So they're really just out there in like these very small shops, or like these very small bookstores.
Wait, so you have like these books printed out in like
they're printed out. Yeah,
a lot of them, like for each book.
No, not a lot of them.
Huh.
They're very small amounts, and they're all pen names, and they're all not good. Like I had an editor, which was a great thing. It was just like a very small time thing. So I lost more money than actually gaining from these books.
Well, you had fun doing it, right?
I don't even think I gained like a total of $100 from these books, but I did have fun doing them.
Okay, yes, there you go.
That's the whole point of doing it.
The experience, the joy of doing it. It's like some people going to conventions or vending at conventions. Maybe they can't do super well at it, but they got, the experience of being able to vend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like there's lots of small stuff that I did that I'd rather have like no one know, not even Sarah, because not even Sarah knows about these books, and even if she did, she would never find them. Like I can't find them. All right, that's the thing. So, these books are just out there. But I've written a lot. These stories are and I've written these stories a lot, and that's probably the only thing I'm good at, which is writing plot lines. Not necessarily like writing full stories, but at least writing plot lines, right?
Right.
Writing the rough ideas out, writing the putting the ideas in, the progression, etc., etc. That's probably the only thing I'm like good at. But in terms of like the full like writing, I don't think I'm good at it. That's why I'll never share these books with anybody.
Okay, so that's the reason why you prefer to flesh out your book idea, your story ideas, rather than books onto comics.
I'm sure if I did it more, that yes, I would rather publish them as like books or even just like online like novel things, right?
Right.
But one, again, I know I just said earlier I rather not say I don't have time for it, but I don't. Writing a fleshed out story like that to the standard that I want takes way too much time off my end. The emphasis being like to the standard I want, because I kind of have a high standard for myself when I write a story, and like unless I know going into it is going to be trash.
I feel you.
Yeah. Because going into it, if I know it's gonna be trash, I don't give a shit. At that point, I'm gonna write whatever I fucking want. That's kind of like that mentality I had in, when I was publishing like these very small books. That like I'm gonna write whatever I want. The editor will come back to me with a bunch of these red ass marks just all over the pages. I'll correct them. We go back and forth a couple times, and they'll get published for like they'll print like maybe 50 books.
Huh.
And then they'll like just enough to like get like a small profit off both sides, and then we'll put them up in like a small bookstore somewhere, and then once those 50 books sell, then that's it. That's the end of the lifespan. It's done.
Oh.
So it really is just like a very, very small profit. So yeah, it was just a very small time publishing company. Published around like maybe 20-ish books, maybe a little bit less. It was definitely in the double digits, late tens. And then they're all very short stories. They're all like very thin books. But yeah, and then they were just in the bookstore, and then we sold them, and I made probably less than $100 total. Because like,
how much did you lose?
I personally did not lose that much money.
Okay.
It was just time that I lost. That's why I would say like I didn't make a profit off of it, because if I really want to total up the time that I made, time invested to the amount of money I made, it was probably like less than 10 cents an hour. Like, because writing a story does not takes a long time. It's not easy, obviously, right? Or actually writing out a full story. And just the time between writing out the full story whenever I felt like I had a story, and then giving it to him, and then him giving it back to edit, and back and forth that several amount of times, it just wasn't worth it.
Right.
And especially since we're printing just a small amount of books. Like 50 books, you're not making anything. You're making, the publisher company is probably making like maybe $100, maybe like 200 something. Which is why it was more like a passion project between us two. But we kept in contact, and I kept writing stories, and then eventually I was just like, I don't want to write anymore. So it just ended there.
Do you guys still have contacts with each other?
No, not really.
Okay.
He's probably off doing like his own thing, probably still publishing, but probably for a bigger company now. And I'm an engineer now, so there's no reason to keep in contact.
Yeah, life's just life.
Yeah.
Get into different things. It always made me wonder, like, what kind of other like options would I've had in life? Like, say, well, give you this though. Like, if you were to make $15 an hour writing books, would you have kept up on that?
At that age, yes. In college, no. Because $15 an hour, like writing books, that's a lot of time to write a book.
Say it jumps into $20 an hour by the time you're in college.
And here's the thing, like that's a lot of time investment, and you won't see that money until you actually publish a book. And to make $20 an hour, quote unquote, because you're not being paid on the clock, obviously. Right. But to make that much money, you have to be like an actual good writer. And for me to get to that point would take years. I don't think I'm not a good enough writer to actually write out a full book or a full novel. I personally don't think so. I think I'm a good enough writer to do like the very basics of a story, or to write out scenes or write out like scenarios.
Okay.
But but I don't think I'm a good enough writer to write a book. Write a full novel.
I can understand you on the scenes and scenarios case, because I can bring up like a different scenes and scenarios for my different stories and ideas, but I can't really toss in like a beginning and an ending and weave in all the other information I need for the stuff. I can make the characters just fine. I can make characters interacting with one another, but I really can't make a story out of it. I actually, hold on, let me grab it on my phone. I have one scene where it's a fantasy world. They toss it in with like a whole underground dwarf type of people. I had an underground city called Motel. It's an underground town occupied by a bunch of fucking moles. They're all very fucking stupid. I exaggerated that part. So the thing about it is that you start off going to the underground city, and it's just a bunch of moles living their regular lives, but then you somehow end up flooding their whole entire civilization.
Okay.
So it's a whole accident where you dug into the ocean, and now their lives are completely changed. But I want it to be so that they're stupid and they're all okay. They accept their new homes. I want one mole guy to be thirsty from the beginning of the game because all he wants is just a drink of water, and he's still thirsty by the end of the game because it's salt water, so he can't really do anything. I want one guy to be to just really enjoy because he loves taking fat baths. I want one mole family to have lost their kid, and they're trying to figure out where he is, and they're panicking. And
so are you playing as the moles?
No. You're playing as a character who accidentally flooded their house.
Okay.
You're just a regular adventurer in this game, but this mole family. You're talking with them, they're missing their kid, and while you're talking with them, you see a little thing bob up from the water. It's the mole kid. And for a second, you just stand there. You see the body just floating up in there. Then it just pops up and it says, okay.
Okay.
Let's see. I want another dude to be in an inner tube where he's just chilling there, and you can stand on top of him while he's in the water. But if you stand on top of him while he's in the water, if you stay for longer than 30 seconds, you'll hear a timer go off, counting down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and by the time it hits 0, he drowns.
Okay.
You can, if you leave the room and come back, he doesn't respawn.
So what's the point of this game, though?
I wanted it to be like an adventure type of game where there's the whole aspect of magic and weapons and...
Oh, so this mole town is only like a small part of the game?
Yeah, it's definitely...
I see what you mean now.
It's definitely the more like humorous part of the town, if anything else. Everything else is just more... aspect of having the grand adventure of going out on a journey, trying to solve who you are, but at the same time saving the world. Just a small little thing that everyone has to do eventually in games.
Yeah.
I always know that because when I brought up the whole story idea with you, I've actually had a bunch of story ideas that I've always wanted to flesh out, but I never thought that I would have the time or really the skill to do it. And as much as I do want to wish I could just sell out my ideas, I'm bad at writing, so I I have nothing to really give to other people.
Writing is a hard skill to get good at, I think, because a lot of it is like it's time and experience. I think writing is one of the few skills that you need to have other skills for. For example, Tolkien is a good example. Tolkien is the author of Lord of the Rings, right?
Right.
But the reason why his books are the way he is because he's also a linguist and a historian. So that's why like the elves' language is actually like an actual language. It's a real language that you can speak.
Oh.
And that's why his books are fleshed out the way it is because he's a historian. And that's why like nearly everywhere you go in Lord of the Rings has a deep history behind it.
Okay, so kind of like how in order to write a good child's book, you have to have a child.
Not necessarily. Like what's it?
Wait, are you serious? There are actually people who've written child books without actually having kids themselves yet?
Yeah, Roald Dahl. I don't know if he had kids, but I don't think he had. Oh, he did have kids.
Oh.
He had kids, but the reason why I mentioned him is because he hates kids. He's written a lot of children's books. A lot of children's books, you know. He's written Charlie and Chocolate Factory. He's written Matilda. He's written BFG, so Big Friendly Giant.
And he just hates kids?
He hates kids. He does not like kids.
Ah.
And you can actually see that in his books because in almost all his books, the kids suffer. Yeah, there are people out there who's written children's books and not have kids. But I think the difference is to write a children's book, you have to be really in tune with like your inner child. You have to really understand like how kids think.
Right.
Or how and write in a way that they can understand like the story from basics. Right?
Right.
That's why I say like writing a book writing requires other skills. If I wanted to write a fantasy, I would actually need to know fantasy, right? But if I wanted to write a mystery like I want to, I would actually need to know how mysteries are written and how to develop a puzzle, basically.
Do you think you have a grasp on that?
Not entirely. That's why it takes me so much time to write things I want up to par. Going back. That's why I say like writing requires a lot of skills. Because like writing character progression is one thing. Like writing a plot, or like writing like a scene is one thing. But to write a full story, I could write a character progression for like a mystery story, right? I could write a character progression for like how the detective, as the further on he goes and further out the mystery, it like slowly turns him insane or something like that. Like I can write that development out, and I can write it up to a point where I feel like it might be natural all the way through. But to write the mystery itself, that takes other skills that I do not have right now.
Huh.
Or fantasy. To write like a main character going through like a fantasy story, or like let's say a dark fantasy story, right? And him basically fighting off like the forces of evil or whatever. But on the way there, the darker everything is, he struggles to keep himself happy. I can write that character progression out, and I can write it out in a way that at the end that he is like, despite everything he goes through, he finds a way to find like the good in like people and stuff like that. That like I can still write that story out, but to write the world of fantasy itself, that would take me other skills that I feel like I somewhat have as like someone who played a lot of D&D and read a lot of fantasy books, and that's something I somewhat have. But to write like a dark fantasy world like that takes other skills. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Writing is one of those things where like you need to know other things. You need to have the experience of what you're writing, or at least done the research of what you're writing in order to write the thing you want to write.
Writing is definitely a skill that I need to capsize and try to take advantage of someday, because I do have a lot of story ideas I really do want to flesh out, and a majority of them I want to be able to flesh them out in like a video game aspect or a comic aspect. And the bad part about it is that I personally probably don't want to sell it out to someone else to flesh it out, because for a lot of the game ideas I do want to do it myself. I want to be able to either have like a small team or just do it all solo, and that itself would take a lot of time.
That's one of the reasons why, like, even if I had the skills or the time or whatever, I would never want to become a game developer, because being a game developer is so much more stressful and difficult than anyone who wants to be a game developer imagines. I think the only people who want to be a game developer does not know what game development is like, right? Because the stress of making a game, a AAA game or even a small game, is insane. I don't feel like I would want to be one. I think I'll be just unhappy until I'm done with it. But even then, I would just be working on the next project and just be unhappy again. I know, like, game developers, like, you will be happy by the end of it. By the end of it, when you actually release the damn game, like, yes, you're happy, and then like the game's out there, people are playing it,
and hoping that people give it a lot of attention, a lot of likes, and a lot of views, and good comments. Except that that's not the whole case with a lot of things. With a lot of games, it's just like posting anywhere online, like artwork and stuff. You'll probably get like not that much attention, or you'll get someone like really, really ripping into your game's asshole, and tearing it apart.
So like. And I'm sure that's not the case like all the time. I'm pretty sure there's game development out there that went perfectly smoothly, and like everyone's happy all the way through. But the vast majority of game development is hell all the way through. like Super Smash Bros. Melee and Brawl, and even Ultimate for a certain extent.
Was it development hell?
Sakurai hated like developing that game. He loves the games, right? And he has a passion for game development, but he I think after Melee was done, he was like, I never want to do this again. Because Melee was made in such a short amount of time. It was made in like 6 months, I believe, something like that. Like a stupid short amount of time for a game,
especially for a console, and new aspects and new elements that's never been used before, if anything else, in its time.
So he did not like making the game as it was going on. Game development is something that like it's fascinating to research and to like think about how to make a game and stuff like that, but actually making the game itself, because it requires so many different things, and like especially if you're with a company, because the company has deadlines. For an indie development, technically you don't have a deadline. You're your own deadline. So, but if you have a company, you have a deadline, and that is a mass amount of stress, because to reach that deadline, everything needs to go right. The music, the game, debugging, art, plot, everything needs to go right.
Damn, that's hella stressful. Jesus.
So,
the kid in me would probably fantasize about wanting to make games, but now I'm old enough to know how all things goes. I probably never ever want to do it unless it's just indie.
Yeah, that's what I mean though. Like, people who want to get into game development, especially if they want to get into a game development company, like, they have never done it before. I'm not saying I have, but I've done enough research into how it's done that I'm like, I never want to do that. So like, but that's what I mean. Like, that's why most people are turning to indie. That's why indie development has gotten so much like high praise, because indie development is like their own person, and they release it when they feel like it's done.
What does indie stand for?
Independent.
Independent?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're independent publishers.
So they're usually like not a big company, either one person, small group.
It's either one person or a small team. Yeah.
Okay.
So like Doki Doki Literature Club was in the game. Honey Pot was in the game. Undertale, the big one, that was in the game. Toho. All the Toho games are indie games.
Cave Story.
Cave Story was an indie game.
Yeah.
Binding of Isaac, indie game. Risk of Rain, I think, was an indie game.
Risk of Rain 1, yeah, started out as an indie game. I don't know if Risk of Rain 2 still an indie game technically.
I don't know. I think so.
Yeah.
Celeste was an indie game. But yeah, like that's why indie development has been turned to a lot more, because they have their own deadlines, their own independent person, small team. But usually to be an indie developer, you need to have a lot of different skills.
Right.
Like, for instance, Toby Fox. He is not just a game developer. He's also a composer.
Music artist, writer. He has all these gimmicks.
Character design.
He's lived in someone's basement for a very long time.
But yeah, like, he's not just a game developer. He's also these other things. The creator of Binding of Isaac, he wasn't just a game developer. He was also a writer. He created a lot of the music. The person who made the Toho games, that was all one guy.
All of them?
I think other than the fighting games, but even then, that might have been just him. Like, all the shoot 'em ups, that's just him.
That's crazy to think about it then.
Like, what was it called?
I think that's the case for Momodora. Oh, I've played the first iteration of Binding of Isaac back when it was in Newgrounds too.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, okay, yeah, Team Shanghai Alice, that's who makes the Toho games, and Team Shanghai Alice is one person. So he independently produces the game's graphic, music, and programming. The Toho games, one guy.
And he just started his own big old fan base from there on.
Yeah.
Did it start off as game, Toho, or?
Yeah, started as a game.
Okay.
It started as a game, I believe, for the Atari 5600.
What?
Yeah, he's an OG game developer.
How old is he now?
I don't know. I don't even know if people know. Oh, people know what he looks like, but I don't know if like. He is 42 years old.
Oh, wow, that's not even super old, if anything.
He's just old school.
Okay. Well, good on him.
Yeah. So game development is like, you need to have a lot of skills. Similar to writing, right?
Yeah.
Except I feel like you need more skills for game development.
For game development, it's definitely important to have not just have the skills, but also like define it very well as well. If you want to make it good. I've always felt like I want to be able to get into that. Like, if anything, if I was to ever make a game, it would definitely be an indie game, because I want to be able to give
I don't think you have a choice. I don't know if you're gonna work for Nintendo anytime soon, or work for the big name companies to make your own game.
Nintendo, please hire me.
But like, making an indie game, it's hard, but it's more manageable than doing it like as part of the company and not be stressed.
Plus, you get to put in your own personal love and touch, and no one else can tell you no.
Yeah, which is something that like I both appreciate and don't like, but it's whatever.
How so?
Like, I appreciate people who put in their own love and care about the game, like, obviously. But the thing is, like, at a certain point, the game becomes like super personal to the game developer. That depending on the personality of the person that
made the game,
that may not work out well for the person himself. The game might still come out fine, but the person himself might not. In a way that, like, if the game gets trashed, that's like a personal attack to them. But if the game gets big, then their ego might grow, or like they might become like have this weird superiority complex. I'm not gonna call anybody out, obviously. I'm not a big enough person. I'm gonna take the coward's way out here. I'm not gonna call anyone out in like the game development scene for that. All the games that I personally played and cared about, the people who made them are perfectly fine. But I know. Oh, here's a person that I don't mind calling out, because no one likes him.
Oh.
The guy who makes Pez.
The dispenser?
No, not Pez dispenser.
Oh wait, Peggles?
No, Pez. The game, the indie game, the guy with the
Fez? No, Pez. Hold on.
Oh, was it Fez?
Fez? The one with the hat?
Yeah.
Huh. I played that game.
Yeah, it was Fez. Yeah.
It was a puzzle game where it had the aspect of 2D/3D. Like the game, like in the beginning was fine, but then everything else just became a chore of you had to find out like how to do this puzzle, and then eventually everyone else is just gonna Wikipedia. All right, how do you get this? All right, so I can only get this specific item to 100% the game if I open the game specifically at New Year's at exactly this moment.
So the game who made Fez, oh, not the game. The person
guy.
who made Fez is called Phil Fish,
All right.
and he basically after making Fez, he became notorious for having not only like bad opinions, but having this like weird superiority complex with people.
Well, the game did get popular, so
Yeah, the game got super popular, so he thought he was the shit, basically. So the reason why I'm more comfortable calling him out is because everyone knows this, and like everyone, like this is a well like documented incident where he made Fez and it got big, and then he basically thought his opinions were right the entire time,
right.
and that's why Fez 2 would never come out because no one likes working with him, and he got way too ambitious.
Whew.
That's why I'm more comfortable calling him out. He's probably a better person now after everything has passed. Maybe, hopefully, right? I don't know, but that's what I mean by like independent. That's the one thing I don't like about independent creators who make games. Depending on their personality, is if the game gets big, or the game gets like totally like trashed, that can have negative consequences for the actual creator himself because the game is super personal.
Yeah, and they'll start spiraling into this section of going to every single YouTube channel, describing and trashing on the game, and just going to the comment section. I'll have you know that and all these kinds of sorts.
Yeah. So, because like I said, like this game is super personal. Overall, I think it's a good thing. Don't get me wrong, right?
Right.
I think games like Lisa and like Undertale, like Celeste, those are games that would never be made unless they were indie, right?
Right.
Especially Lisa. Like Lisa would have never gotten made unless it was indie.
No one would sell anything that depressing and dark.
No one would ever sell anything that depressing, and with the themes it has, and no one will ever touch that game. But because it was indie, he was able to do whatever he wants with it, and it has so much heart and soul into the game that you can tell that it's an indie project and it was someone's personal creation.
Right.
So that's why overall I think indie games are positive. Independent creators are a good thing.
Okay.
I'm not someone who's gonna champion like corporate like
download the business.
Go business. Go EA. No, fuck them.
Okay, well, now I understand why people liked indie games and stuff like that, and why the whole indie hype was probably, like, hyped in general. They're good games. They got
no, generally, okay, well, I can't say generally. I will honestly say a minority of independent games are good. It's just that the ones that get popular are good. I think for every indie game out there, there's like 9 other bad games. Which is fair. It's just numbers, and like I said, independent creation is hard.
Yeah.
Independent game creation, super hard. So because of that, like there's gonna be very few good products out there. So it's just how it is. And if you're listening to this and you completely disagree with me, comment. I'm not like an expert at game development.
We're open people. We don't take like personal attacks on anything, and if anything, it's good that we like to see and learn other opinions so that we can grow as people as well.
And if you do have a different opinion, really do comment, because if I am wrong, I would at least like to know why I'm wrong. Obviously,
but you're Kevin, you're never wrong.
That's not even true.
Okay.
But yeah, that was a long tangent of what do you like? What's the small things you like that make you happy?
If anything, I do kind of like this topic. The whole idea of story building and just being able to flesh out your ideas, because these are small little things that people start thinking about, and trailing it back to small little things that I enjoy. I do enjoy driving a lot, especially driving long distances if it's just me and my car, because I like to blank out. I completely forget that I'm driving, and I just sit there thinking about comic ideas or game my story ideas and aspects and stuff like that. And then 30 minutes later, I'll be like, oh, wow, I'm already here. Wait, I was driving?
That's a bad sign if you don't even know you were driving.
Yeah, no, I'm not that good of a driver.
And that's an even worse sign. Like, I get what you mean. Like, I enjoy driving too. I enjoy driving by myself and just going out and drive somewhere. Because like I enjoy just going out and just driving somewhere basically. Just like aimlessly just drive somewhere. Because it does like clear out your mind. And when you drive, you focus, your mind at least is focused on just driving. You're not thinking about anything else that's important that you really urgently need to know. So you tend to drift. I tend to drift a lot. I tend to like just daydream sometimes when I drive. I am focusing while I'm driving, obviously, but like it's to a point where it's like I can think about other like more meaningless things and drive at the same time.
Because it's using a part of your brain, and you don't have to focus too much of your brain on one thing.
Yeah. So you can use your other percent of your mind just to focus on other things, and you're not gonna focus 100% on like an important thing. So while you drive, so you're gonna focus on like the less important things. Yeah. That's a very like nice feeling to have, just to drift and just to like clear your head like that. I get the same feeling whenever I bike in the rain.
Really?
Yeah. When I bike in the rain, I get the same feeling.
What if it's not raining?
Again, it's less. It's there, but when it because when I bike in the rain, I just bike in like a neighborhood where there's no cars around.
Right.
And it's just me in the rain because I like the rain a lot.
That sounds like a really nice aesthetic.
Sure. I never thought of it like that.
I mean, like, if it's probably like one of those like lo-fi anime girls things where you see it on YouTube and it's just
it's just an anime girl with like headphones on biking in the rain. Animate that and put lo-fi hip hop on it.
That sounds really comfy though.
I mean, you can.
All right, hold on. Let me put down to my to-do list. Okay.
So, but yeah, like that's something I like to do. Just bike in the rain. I don't do it as often more. I did it a lot when I was in middle school because I had a lot on my plate during that age. So just clearing my mind like that was very comforting. So I know what you mean by like just wanting to drive, right?
Right.
And just think about anything else.
It's nice.
Yeah, it is a nice feeling. Anything else you want to talk about?
Let's see. I think I derailed it from this car off to...
It doesn't matter what you do. Like I said in the first episode, the Golden Rule podcast is tangent all you want.
Oh, okay. There you go. Well, I do enjoy... Well, now that I lost my train of thought. Damn.
Well, okay. We can go to my topic.
Okay, go for it.
Well, my topic is just really just directed to you because it relates nothing to me.
Oh, what?
What got you into art?
Oh, well, I have a dark and terrible secret for this. Well, it's not really a dark, terrible secret. If you actually have followed me from the previous ages...
I know what you're talking about now.
I mean, like, it's not something people are essentially proud of. They either grow into it and they still like it a lot. I mean, I can still enjoy it. I just would not personally want to be associated with it. So when I first started art, it was because of My Little Pony. All right?
Friendship is magic.
And that was when all on Tumblr, the Ask blogs and every sort of like cool aspect of it was popular back then, where everyone would have their own personal themed Ask blog, like say.
So that is what got you into art?
Well, yes.
Really?
Yes,
I thought you were drawing before that, but I guess
nope.
Really?
Yeah, it was because I liked one little dragon character on the show. Right?
There's only one. Just
one. I'm like, wow, I like anime too. So let's make him a kawaii version. Kawaii Spike. I enjoyed making the jokes. I enjoyed reacting to asks. I enjoyed my humor on it. And sometimes when I would look back at it and I'm like, you know what? It's pretty funny.
Have you gone back to that Ask blog at all?
Well, no, this is the thing though. I lost the password to it, so I can't get back to it.
Well.
That's the only reason why I actually stopped doing that ass blog. It's actually funny enough. It's because of that ass blog I actually got to meet PK.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
She had her own personal ass plug called Pregunta Scootaloo, which means ask Scootaloo in Spanish. But then people think it's pregnant Scootaloo. So they keep asking her the exact same question, like, when'd you get pregnant? How'd you get pregnant? And yeah, no, I got to meet her, follow her there. And then she stopped doing all these Asks blog stuff. I still had mine for like 3 months or so. And then I lost the blog.
Well, like you say you're not proud about it, but there's a lot of people from the Brony community that transitioned out of Brony community.
Yeah.
Like fucking, was it DJ Brony? What was he called now? He's called Odyssey or something like that?
I don't know. I don't keep up. I'll be honest, I didn't even know any of like the face brands for like the artists. The only ones I'll know is probably Living Tombstone, Discord, I'm Melon at the Moon. No, that's it. That's the only people I know from the community. Everyone else is probably just a smaller ass blog that disappeared and eventually just stopped uploading.
But you know, like that's sort of what I mean. Like there's lots of people from the Brony community that transition out of the Brony community and they just stop calling themselves as bronies.
Yeah.
Like Living Tombstone is an example. DJ Brony was an example. I forgot what they're called now, but like there's lots of people from that community that just transitioned out of it.
Yeah.
So I guess technically you are too.
Yes, I would definitely say I transitioned out of it. I can't say I cut it completely out from my life. Mm-hmm. It's still a nice show from time to time, but I don't keep up with it at all.
Well, it's over.
It's over?
It's going to be.
Oh.
I think. It's either going to be or it is.
Aren't they going to toss in... How many goddamn seasons is it? How long have they... Okay, so I started art 5 years ago because of that show. Mm-hmm. And I had that blog for about a whole year. And it's because of that I got into digital drawing. And I started my fan base because of that. Then that blog died, so I had to make a new complete blog where all I did was just shit post and draw whatever I felt like, which was good. It was nice to doodle different comic ideas and different stories, but mostly just shitpost on memes and stuff. And that's actually how PK Bunny got really popular, because when Undertale came out, she really liked Azrael, the goat boy, in it.
Oh yeah, it's I'm gonna interrupt you.
Go for
it. But on the 9th season, it's his last season.
Huh.
And it's going to have a movie. Already had a movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is his last season. Season 9. It's done.
It's done completely?
Yep.
Huh. Well,
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll have another Equestria Girls. Fuck up, I know. But
don't they have like 4 at this point?
I think so. Either 4 or 3.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, no, I have to at least give respects to the show for helping me start off. And it's because of that I got into art, and now I'm a freelance graphic designer where I work with restaurants, businesses, and do a lot of posters and signs.
Yeah, because that show did a lot for people, right? Like,
yeah, honestly, that show started a whole convention, a cult of its own. Yeah. A lot of people.
Like, as much as people hate on bronies, and sometimes rightfully so, but I'm gonna say most of the time not. But as much people hate on bronies, the show really helped a lot of people out.
Yeah, like
it really did make this community of people, and there's lots of good stuff that came out of it. Like I said, Living Tombstone, like the Brony,
people got to get into
all the artists.
Yeah,
like all those people probably would not have been there without My Little Pony, ironically enough.
Well, it's their collection. It's like a lot of situations with a lot of people. Like, they start off like their small collection of people, then they start branching off with their new skills and new connections, and they just keep going at it.
Yeah. It's interesting to see how, like, these people progress out of the fandoms they originated at. Like, I know Undertale is sort of like that.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people started out as part of the Undertale fandom and then now they're branched out of it.
They have their own stories. They
have either their own stories, their own animators,
or their own Undertale Ask blogs.
Yes, their own Undertale Ask blog. So yeah, like I know Sara. She started drawing again because of Undertale.
What, like she stopped drawing for a while?
She stopped drawing in high school because she was always told that it was going to be a waste of time, basically.
Right.
Because
now, who said that?
Everyone, because being an artist is not profitable.
It's not exactly, but it's still something you want to do if your heart desires it. But at the same
time, like, I agree. That's what I tell Sara. Like, she should draw. And I say that now, even as she draws.
And that's good.
Yeah, but in high school, it's not convincing when like another high school says it, right? But when like all your relatives say that it doesn't make money to be an artist, or like when other people say it doesn't make money to do an artist, you kind of don't want to be an artist at a certain point.
Yeah.
You'd rather try to be something else. And it wasn't until like Undertale where she became drawing again. And then she basically got back into drawing a lot. So that's pretty understandable why people get attached to these fandoms and then transition out of it to a certain extent and just do their own things, because they have these talents. Like Living Tombstone, like before he was a brony, he was probably just still a mixer and a DJ, right?
Right.
It wasn't until when LMP came out that he was inspired to actually make this and put it out there and get this fandom out there that really showcased his product to everybody. Yeah.
He got everything worked out for him, and now he's doing it as his life, and he's living out what he wants to do. It's a miracle. Like a lot of fandoms like do this a lot too. Like, God damn, the Sonic fandom. I remember I had a friend who just drew nothing but Sonic fan art, and now he works for the Sonic team. So that's good for him.
Yeah, like fandoms in general is something I have a weird relationship with, because I generally don't like a lot of fandoms.
Yeah, no, a lot of people don't like the fandoms because of how like the people in it react.
Like the main reason I don't like a lot of fandoms is because it's a weird. I don't want to say cult,
but it's basically a cult. Let's be honest.
It's not a cult. They don't worship the goddamn thing they're a fan of.
Some people, though.
Some people, but not all of them. But they either create this fandom of loving the show or hating the show, right?
Wait, there's a hate fandom?
There's lots of hate fandoms out there.
Ooh.
CV Universe has a hate fandom.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So there's lots of fandoms out there that like they either straight up love the product or just hate the product. And that's the same for animation. That's the same for YouTubers. That's the same for movies. But it's very hard to criticize something when there's a fandom around, and that's what I don't like about fandoms. Right.
Right.
So for instance, like, Steven Universe is a very weird example because it has both a hate fandom and a fandom who completely loves it.
Can it be a part of both?
But that's the thing. Most people should just be a part of both. Most people should, like if they like the show, they should like the show, but also like all the flaws.
It has a lot of flaws, but at the same time, it can be enjoyable. It's just that most people are either one side or the other, and you can't help but try to like defend each other at the same time.
Yeah, like personally, I enjoyed the show at one point. Sort of. I never watched the show when it was coming out.
Right.
I only caught episodes here and there, and eventually I just caught up, and then again I just watched here and there. But I don't think at any point like I liked the show. I definitely more hate it now than like it, but I don't have this weird fanatical hatred that people have towards the show. I just don't think it's a good show. That's just it. That's it. I just don't think it's a good show, and that I wash my hands clean of all of the complaints. But I don't think it's like worth, all this hatred that it gets. I think there's definitely flaws. I think there are good points to it. Definitely. I think, but I also think like it has a lot of problems in it. But I don't think the hatred is enough to have this group of people who will constantly hate the show.
Whenever people hate things, they just kind of like book into it, and some people don't even know why they're hating it. They just do it because everyone else is doing it.
Yeah, I definitely see like most of that, and it's kind of annoying whenever I see like, okay, for example, again, I'm not gonna call anyone out, but when I'm on YouTube, right, and I see a YouTuber or something that's like kind of known for hating the single thing, that all they do is basically shit on the product, right? That is something that maybe the video itself is not bad at best, but the comment section is just awful. Because it's just people who either blindly most of the time it's just people blindly agreeing to the person who's talking right now. I think the only people who can do like hate watches, or not hate watch, like hate reviews well, are Your Movie Sucks and Red Letter Media. Red Letter Media, their Star Wars prequels reviews are generally great entertainment, and they bring up a lot of good points. And they're long reviews. They're longer than the movies themselves.
They're longer than the movies?
They're longer than the movies themselves.
Oh.
But they're entertaining, and they bring up all these points in a way that you can tell what they're complaining about, right? From both like an actual movie standpoint and both a fanboy standpoint. And that's just something that's very like kind of like smart for them to do, because like the criticisms are in the review are justified, but the way they frame the criticisms is framed as like the dude is just a massive Star Wars fan, right? And he's like stereotypical like overweight like nerdy Star Wars fans who's like the sort of misogynistic kind of dude.
Actually,
yeah, exactly like that, right? That's how they frame the review, and his perspective, and his complaints are legitimate, but they're also framed in a way that like, yes, but this is how the Star Wars fan sees it, and that's why they hate the movies, right? And that's like, that might be looking like a little bit too deep into it, but that is like how it comes off. And Your Movie Sucks, like the way he reviews movies as like something he doesn't like his Neil Breen movies that he reviewed, those are movies that like are bad, but they're so enjoyably bad that he loves reviewing them, right? Or when it's just a bad movie, he explains it in a way that like, these movies are bad because they do not work at the thing they're trying to do, or they don't work. They're very understandable why they're bad, right?
Is he one of those guys who does like a movie counter of, all right, this is a bad thing, count one?
You're talking about like CinemaSins?
Yeah, I don't like CinemaSins that much because they always count things that I'm like, that doesn't really count.
Well, the thing is, I know what you mean. Yeah. I know what you mean, and the problem with CinemaSins, right, is not the problem with the channel itself. It's just that people take them way too seriously, right? I don't know if CinemaSins themselves take themselves seriously, but people take the channel itself too seriously.
Wow, so because all I know is that I know it's supposed to be silly, so they just kind of hit that ting every single time they can.
Yeah, that's basically it. Because the way people watch CinemaSins is like an actual review, but that's not the point of CinemaSins, right? The point of CinemaSins is to be either silly, where just like, oh, it's this thing, which is kind of like narration, but that's bad, right? Because like, you shouldn't just exposit to the viewer, obviously, but like some movies are kind of, they need the narration. Or like, oh, this much time of credits, because it's just like normally, or like common sense would dictate you shouldn't need to watch like 5 minutes of logos to actually watch a movie, but it's there anyways.
Right.
But people take it like too seriously. Like, every sin, quote unquote, is like an attack on their movie. But it really shouldn't be the case. You shouldn't watch it like that. I don't like CinemaSins either. I think the dinging just gets like annoying to a certain point where like you're just dinging random stuff now. But that's kind of the point of the videos where it's just like, oh, all these small things are just they shouldn't be in the movie, I guess. How can I explain this? They like all these small like complaints are kind of what they are. They're just small, right? So you really shouldn't take it seriously. Like they're quote unquote sins, but that doesn't mean your movie's bad. You know.
It's just personal opinions, and opinions aren't facts. So even big tiny opinions.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go into that right now.
Well, it's kind of safe to say that YouTube comment sections isn't exactly the most healthiest place, if anything.
I don't think any comment section is the healthiest place, but that's just me.
I'll hopefully one day have that good comment section.
But that's the thing. Like, wait. Trying to finish up my CinemaSins thing. People take CinemaSins way too seriously because they see every sin as an attack on their movie. But that's not the point of the video. The point of the video is just to comment like, oh, there's this thing that's generally known as bad, right? Or that's generally known as like, shouldn't be in the movie. So we're just gonna ding it, right?
Right.
It's the same thing with Cinema Wins, right? Which is another channel where all they do is count like, oh, the good things they do in the movie. Where just because all he comments on are good things about the movie doesn't mean there's not bad things about the movie. Every movie has good and bad things, but that's kind of the point of both channels, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just something that I feel like people take too seriously about those two reviews. And to finish up my thing on hate reviews, the main reason I don't like other people hate reviews that much, and it's very certain people that, again, I won't comment on because I don't feel like calling anybody out.
It's not like they'll like bring out their whole raid and go after you.
No. I feel like the problem is that when they hate review something, they jump to these weird conclusions that have nothing to do with the movies themselves. It's hard to bring up an example without bringing up like a specific example. So I'm going to make this super out there, like exaggeration of an example.
Go for it.
So for instance, if someone was to review like, let's say, what's a good movie?
Finding Nemo.
Okay. Like if someone was to review Finding Nemo, right? But all they do as like, oh, I hate Finding Nemo, and they do like all these small nitpicks throughout the movie, but then midway through or like partway through their review, they make this weird like jumping conclusion that like, oh, and also Dory's a psychopath or something like that, and that's awful or something like that, or like what's the main character, Marlin, or like Marlin's abusive dad or something like that. And that goes into like how much they hate the movie itself.
Just fan theories or like ideas that...
Not even fan theories, just stuff they put out as fact, right? Or like the creators, they put out this message, and that is or like they put out this message and that's a bad thing, right? Or when I say it like that, it's kind of a weird jump. If you just hear it like straight up, but the review, what they would do, what a lot of hate reviews would do that are bad, is that they will do all these small complaints, and they'll use these small complaints to bring up an argument that like, oh, this person's a Nazi, or like the creator is like a fascist, or this creator is like an evil socialist or whatever, or like. Or this creator is sexist because of all these things that they've talked about earlier. So that's something I don't like about a lot of the hate reviews I see on YouTube, which it's weird coming from me because I'm a super critical person. So a lot of people will see my criticisms as hate reviews.
Are they hate reviews technically?
No, not really. I don't hate the movie. I just don't think these movies are good. Like, I'm sure people would hear like my unfiltered version about all the MCU movies.
Right.
People would think I'm just hating on the movies, right? I just hate these movies because of the person who makes the movies, or like the thing that the movie's trying to spread. Like, I just hate that. But I just don't think they're great movies, right? Generally.
Right.
I'm not gonna say all MCU movies are bad. I think very few are, but I'm not gonna say all. I just don't think they're good movies, and I think that my complaints are to the movies themselves and not to the creator, right?
I gotta admit, I really do like your like ability to judge things, because I personally cannot judge things for myself at all. I will just watch something, I enjoy it, simple enough, go on to the next one. My first ever Star Wars movie was with you guys, actually, Rogue One. I liked it. I thought it was neat. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, and you know that I personally don't like Rogue One. But that doesn't mean that I'm gonna discount your view. It's just that I don't like it in terms of like these aspects. To go into very shortly, because I don't want to go into a long tangent about Rogue One. I just don't think the characters are very well fleshed out in Rogue One, and because of that, I don't think the story works out, because the story's all about the characters.
I like Rogue One. It's just that, like, in terms of characters, my favorite character died, so it's kind of really sad.
The robot.
Oh no, they all died.
Well, yeah, they all died, but
Rogue One spoilers. But at this point, if you like Star Wars and keep up with Star Wars, I'm fairly sure you probably saw Rogue One.
But to get to my point, like, if I'm gonna complain about the Marvel movies, I'm never gonna complain about Joss Whedon himself, right? I might complain about his style of movies, but I'm not gonna complain about the person Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon is the showrunner of the MCU. He's the person who basically controls all the what happens in all the continuities.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he is the person who mostly makes the Avengers movies. I think the first time, I don't remember, but yeah.
I have not really seen a Marvel movie either, except for Ant-Man, which I watched with you guys. And
I don't like, but that's not a surprise.
I liked it. I like ants. That's my only argument for liking Ant-Man. Honestly, I'm not a very strong critic or judgmental person.
That's fine.
I do want to build that judge bone one day, though.
You don't necessarily need to. I think movie criticism only really works if you want to either make criticism as part of like your career, as like a YouTube thing or as like a review thing,
right.
Or if you want to study it, or if you want to make movies.
Yeah, it's definitely like something you want to be able to toss out. Like being able to criticize something, know the goods and the bads of it, will definitely help you with writing your own stories and playwrights, if anything else.
Like I'm sure like you say like, oh, I enjoy everything, but I'm sure if you look at bad art, you would think it's bad, right?
Yes,
because you kind of know the product personally.
If I get to know the product and the person personally, I can understand and probably judge the art. I think if anything, if I were to judge something, it would probably be games and their gameplay aspect.
Yeah. Like for me, like I don't judge games that hard. I judge movies harshly. I judge stories harshly, but gameplay, I don't give a shit as long as I'm having fun. And that's the difference. Like, I know people out there who just like hate like very clunky gameplay, but I work around it because I kind of find it charming, I guess. But that's the thing. Like, I may be a critic, but I'm not a critic towards everything. I'm a critic towards very, very certain things.
Everyone's got their own specific critics. Like maybe some friends are food critics, some friends are movie critics, game critics, and some people are crickets.
Crickets?
Just crickets.
Is there anything else you want to talk about before we close out?
Well, I was thinking about like tossing personal stuff, but I really don't know if I should.
It's up to you. Like, I am almost 100% sure that we are going to have you back or some other friends back as guests when me or Sara can't record. So you all, like people we bring as guests are very much welcome back. So if you feel like you don't want to bring up personal things now, just bring it up again in the future.
Okay.
Near future, who knows? But in the future. But is there anything else you want to bring up before we close it out?
Let's see. Internet personalities, how people usually see themselves. I've always wondered, like, what would some people be like if they had, like, the fame and power? Like, what type of personalities really get destroyed by money, greed, and power?
If you want to know what I think about that, money, greed, and power, I think what kind of person change is, like, they have less sympathy or empathy towards other people, or they can't relate as much
Right.
towards other people, because the power kind of sets people apart from everything else. For instance, I've said this before about teachers, where I think the best teachers are people who have struggled learning the thing they're trying to teach.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've always thought that too, because I've always thought, like, you know, my teachers are really bad teachers, and I really hope that I could teach so that I can show off that I could probably teach better than them.
Yeah, because like, because I bring this a lot, especially for math, because a lot of people who teach math, had math come naturally to them,
Right.
right? And I think that I'm not saying all of them are bad. I'm pretty sure most of them are probably good teachers, but I noticed that all the bad teachers that I had never had to struggle with the subjects they had to teach.
And they just went through it, flew through it, and don't know how struggling kids exactly why they struggle. So it's hard to relate with them. It's hard to really exactly pinpoint, all right, so you're not doing this math correctly because you're not picturing these numbers in your head or something like that.
Yeah. And keep in mind, this mostly applies to like up until high school, right?
Yeah.
I think for college, college is different because people who go into the major know what they're doing, right? They know, people who are art majors know art, so they can have a teacher who knows art already, right?
Right.
Or do people who go to engineering knows, at least know of engineering, knows like what they're trying to get into, so they should have a teacher who knows what they're doing.
Okay.
But the difference between elementary, middle school, and high school, or for people overseas, primary, secondary school, like, the problem with that is that the subjects are required. Math is required for high school, middle school, and elementary school.
You'll need it, and you'll need to know it, how to do it by the end of the time you have.
Yeah, or else you'll fail. But the thing is, if you have a teacher that comes naturally towards it, they don't know what it's like for a kid to struggle with that subject. And I think that's the problem with teaching subjects that's required for kids, right? And like I said, just because the subject comes naturally to you doesn't mean like you can't be a good teacher. It just means that it's just that I personally, all the bad teachers I had through elementary, middle school, and high school are teachers that had their subject come naturally to them. That's why I feel like I can't teach math towards elementary to high school students.
Right.
Or at least I can't teach it in a way, or I can't be a very good teacher at it. Right? I'm sure like over time I can, but I think off the gate it's hard for me to like explain in a way that they can easily understand, because I never had to struggle through elementary to high school math.
It's really hard to jump in, especially if you're like an art teacher and you just know exactly how to do this, and you can't understand why someone can't draw a circle.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. I actually forgot what you were mentioning that I should brought this up.
Honestly, I forgot already too. We could probably look at it.
Fuck it.
It's already gone. Let's see. Well, God, no. I brought this up because of like personal stuff.
Oh yeah, power and greed. That's right.
Yeah, power and greed. Because I was talking at work today with my coworkers, like how a lot of like famous celebrities eventually just end up being druggies, or they just become regular people who not that many people talk about anymore.
See, that's a different case. Because the problem with celebrities, especially in Hollywood, is that celebrities they live in this weird ecosystem where being happy requires other things.
How so?
So okay, like you said earlier, to bring a full circle, you say like the small things make you happy, right?
Right.
But those small things doesn't really require like material things, right? You don't need to buy someone like walking fast in front of you, or you don't need to buy someone's reaction when you give them a heart symbol back, right? But celebrities, their happiness, not all the time, but generally their happiness is reliant towards other people being fans of them or material things they've gotten from being celebrities. So, like for example, Michael Jackson, his happiness was very much reliant on people loving his music. If people did not love his music, he would not be happy. If people hate him for whatever reason, he would not be happy. That's why he was hopped up on drugs near the end of his life.
Ooh.
So Michael Jackson is I want to keep this part short because I know he's a kind of a hot topic now because of the Neverland documentary, whatever.
Yeah, and the Michael Jackson fandom might not be happy about hearing about this kind of stuff.
I mean, okay, I'm sure that they might not be happy, but they're not gonna be mad off me mentioning how Michael Jackson's happiness is reliant off other people. I don't think anybody's gonna argue that. I don't know if anybody's gonna argue like celebrities, some celebrities' happiness are reliant towards the fans they have, right?
Right.
So like Michael Jackson, like he was the most happy when other people loved him, right? Or when other people loved his music, but he was also the most sad when other people hated him, right? So, but that's what I mean by his happiness was reliant off other people and other things. Michael Jackson is an example of the fans. An example of someone who is based off material things.
Did this case count also for Britney Spears and stuff?
Britney Spears is an interesting situation because her situation was like her happiness was kind of based off like riding the constant high, right?
Right.
She and I'm not a celebrity expert, so if anybody wants to argue with me in the comments, go ahead. This is mostly my speculation and my experience reading and watching these celebrities.
I know nothing about celebrities, so
I barely know anything. I know very few. But Britney Spears is an interesting situation because her happiness was based off like because Britney Spears was a very damaged person, right?
Right.
She had a lot of issues that she couldn't deal with. But being a celebrity doesn't really allow you to deal with those issues directly. So she dealt with it in a way that most people in Hollywood did, which was drugs, which kind of spiraled out of control. That's why her happiness was based off like ignoring the problems that she had, and the only way that she knew how to do that was through drugs. Fucking Logan Paul and Jake Paul,
Right.
Their happiness is based off like the fans, but also like all the material things they have. That weird like YouTube flex culture out there that like, oh, here's all the money we have and all this stuff. That's where their happiness comes from, is the money. It's not necessarily like the people, but it's all the money they have, and that's what makes them happy.
So it's not just to us, but like a lot of different people have the small little things that really makes them happy, and if things change in this habit that they have, it makes or break the person, if anything.
Yeah, it depends on the thing that makes them happy. Like I feel like celebrities become different people because they kind of stop
Their life's changed.
yeah, their life completely changed. They stop being normal people for a while, right? And after their success stops or even continues, basically after their success, they have to find other ways to be happy, to be fulfilled in life, right? Because otherwise they kind of go back to being a normal person, and depending on the celebrity, that could be a big issue.
Yeah.
That's why the only time you hear about celebrities after they're famous is either they're a normal person now or they're a really fucked up person. Right? That's the only time you hear about them after they're famous.
Yeah.
So is people who either adjusted to back to being normal or never become normal again.
It reminds me of the one post I saw of Britney Spears like celebrating her kid's birthday with like their kid is Frieza, or there was a Pokemon party. I thought that was really cute.
Yeah. And you know, on the good side for the celebrities, like most of the time they can transition back to being normal, right? Unfortunately, not enough of the time. The celebrities being permanently damaged is not an uncommon thing, and that's kind of an unfortunate thing because they're still people, they're still humans, so they should still, you know, be allowed to live a normal life, right? Especially after they're famous. But that's just my 2 cents.
No, it's definitely, honestly, a pretty strong opinion and something I'm glad to have learned from the great and wise Kevin.
I don't think I'm that great or wise. Like I said, I could be completely wrong about Britney and Michael Jackson. You guys can respond if you guys think it. I think so. I at least don't think I'm wrong about Michael Jackson. I really do think his happiness at the time was very much based off other people and how their reaction to him was.
Right.
I don't think I'm wrong about that. Britney Spears, maybe. I don't know enough about her history. But, yeah. That's my sense.
It's good. It's good.
Anything else?
Let's see.
It's fine. You want to end it here.
No, that's the thing, though. I can't really think of topics ever. Like, I usually only just start talking, like, randomly, like, whenever I'm in my car or when I'm, like, sitting down in my bed. Just talk to myself, clearing out my mind. And that's the thing. That's one thing that I've been trying to figure out lately. Like, when I'm hanging out with friends, I talk in a more awkward and a more quiet tone, where I do a lot of things that I immediately go, what the fuck did I just do? Why did I do that? And why am I going to try to accept what I just did?
Okay, here's the thing about that. And I think we should close out the thing on this.
Yeah.
Because I feel like... usually when we close out podcast, me and Sarah, it usually ends on like an advice thing. So here is my personal advice for people out there. You shouldn't force topics up. It should always be a natural thing or something that you are curious about, right? Like whenever I bring up a topic that I'm curious about other people's opinions, it's because I'm personally curious about it. Like whenever I bring up like a political thing, or whenever I bring up like an opinion on a game, that's why I bring it up, because I'm honestly curious about what other people think, right? I don't bring it up like randomly. And if you don't have a topic to say, or you don't have much to say, that's perfectly fine. Because like, if you don't have much to say, then don't say anything. Just let everyone else talk, and then if you have something to bring up, then say it. But if you don't say anything, because you don't need to force yourself in there. If you are there and your friends want you there, that should be enough, right? You don't need to force yourself to have conversations with other people. That applies to everyone out there. You should be able to be comfortable around your friends and family, that you shouldn't feel the need to talk all the time, right? You should just be comfortable hanging out with people. And I'm not saying like, I don't need to say anything, so I'm just going to be on my phone all the time. No, be active in the conversation by listening. Just listen, and you have something to say, say it. If you don't have anything to say, don't say it. And if there's like a pause in the conversation, and there's something you want to bring up, then bring it up. But if you don't have anything to bring up, then don't bring it up. You don't force topics out there. You don't force yourself to have everyone else talk, or just have you talk. Because if you do that, it comes off unnatural for kind of everyone involved. And this is not just towards you, Ben, obviously. Right. This is for everyone out there who have trouble talking to other people. And this is just like one small aspect of that. talking in a very natural way requires being comfortable.
And social skills.
Not even all the time.
Yeah.
I think I have really bad social skills.
Really?
Yeah, I honestly think I have really bad social skills. I have a lot of trouble introducing myself to other people, and I have a lot of trouble like understanding what the other people mean sometimes.
Oh, okay.
That's why a lot of my conversation really boils down to like, what do you mean by that? Or like, can you explain that? Or even like, I get it, and here's my opinion. Or, oh, here's what I think about it. It's very much things that like, I want to know what you think about, and here's what I think about conversations. It's not a lot of things about the topic itself. It's not like, it's kind of like, instead of like, let's use an example of, okay, here, let's use an example of like a chicken crossing the road, right?
Right.
If you want to stick to the topic itself, you're like, the chicken crossed the road, and where does it go there? And where does it go there? But for me, for my conversations, and this is a weird example I know, would be the chicken crossed the road. Why did the chicken cross the road? Is there a reason why the chicken crossed the road? What is it going across the road for?
I'm usually not that good at answering that kind of question. Like, whenever that does come up, I'm like, you know what? I never really gave thought to it. I just kind of accepted it.
And that's fine. I think that's fine. I think that people should be comfortable with silence in a conversation sometimes. Just being comfortable around other people. And again, like that, I don't necessarily mean that like you should just be out of the conversation. You should be listening to a conversation, obviously, but it just means that you should also be comfortable just not talking in the conversation, because not talking means you're listening. Not talking means that like everyone else has said their piece. You don't need to force another topic up, or to force the topic to continue, right?
Right.
Like if I said like, why did the chicken cross the road, and you explain why, I shouldn't keep going like, but why, because that's just forcing the conversation. It should be, the chicken cross the road, but why? Because of this. Okay, then where does he go next?
Chicken farm.
Yeah, but why? Yeah, and then etc. 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 That's just my opinion on like the way conversations are and trying to be sociable to other people. And like I said, I don't necessarily have great social skills. I don't think so. I'm really bad in groups. So because groups really drain my energy.
Are you better with like people you know or complete strangers?
Obviously people I know, right? But groups, no matter what kind of people are in the group, if it's like more than 5 people, it drains the shit out of me.
Huh.
I don't like hanging around with a lot of people.
It's kind of funny. I'm not that good with groups, but I am actually very good with talking with complete strangers and starting like conversations and understanding exactly how they're feeling. Like if they're trying to make a joke or something, I completely go along with it and I understand it and make sure that no one gets like angry at anything else or something like that.
Yeah, that's just the thing. Like some people are better at certain things than others. You're obviously better at talking to strangers than I am. But that's the thing. Like if I could apply like the way I talk to people to like everybody, then I would be someone who's sociable. But I'm not. And if you could apply the way you talk to strangers to like everybody, then you would also be very sociable. But are you?
I'll get there one day.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a thing where like having conversations shouldn't be like a goal, right? It shouldn't be like, oh, I need to have a conversation or I need to have people keep talking, right? Having conversation is just something that happens. It's a process, not a goal. It's a thing that continues a relationship, whatever that relationship is, right? It's not something that like, oh, we're gonna have a conversation, and if we have a good conversation, then I get like points or something. That's not how it works. It's you have a conversation, and through that conversation, you get to know each other better.
Okay.
That's just my 2 cents on it.
Well, that's great. No, I've definitely overthought this way too much, if anything else.
You overthought this. I just went on like 10 minutes of having conversations, talking about talking.
Yeah, but like in overall, I've always thought about conversations, you need to do something, you need to get it done. And I've never really thought of, you could just be there. It's not that bad. It's not the end of the world. And it should be okay. I should be comfortable hanging out with friends.
You should just be comfortable. That, if anything, your goal is to be comfortable with the group you have. That should be the goal. It should not be the goal of you being uncomfortable, right? And there's some things that, like, just because you're comfortable, it doesn't mean that like everything's good. You could be comfortable around everyone burning around you.
What?
That doesn't like that's an exaggeration. But like everyone else could be awkward and you could be comfortable, but that doesn't mean it's a good thing, right? Obviously. But I feel like that should be something that should be your first priority. Your first priority should be you being comfortable. Your second priority should be, is everyone else okay? Right?
Right.
Some people are more selfless than that. That's just me personally. But yeah, that's what I think.
Thank you for your 2 cents. I'll save it up and hopefully get $1.
Lots of 2 cents today.
There's a lot of them.
So I think that's good enough for today.
I think that's a good count.
Thank you for listening to episode 7 of Just a Couple Thoughts. Today we actually had a regular length podcast.
How long are podcasts usually?
For me, I usually like to aim for around an hour and a half to like an hour 40.
Okay.
Lately, the podcast length have been like an hour 20-ish, or like a little bit over an hour, which is not a bad thing. If you have any questions, I have an email in the description. You can email us any of your questions. If you haven't noticed, we didn't do any recap or response today, because I want to save that for when Sarah gets back.
Sarah, we miss you.
Yes, I miss you very much. So I'm going to say that when Sarah's come back. I know that we got a new comment on one of the videos, so I will respond to that in 2 weeks when Sarah comes back during our Endgame podcast.
Oh yeah, dude, Endgame's going to come out and we're going to be watching it.
Yeah, we are all going to be watching it together. You, me, a couple of other friends, Sarah.
Up to 8 people. Up 8 or 7.
Yeah, that's coming up. The dreaded Endgame podcast, episode 9. But so yeah, I hope you guys had a good time listening to us today. Thank you, Ben, for joining us for this podcast. If you want to do any plugs, go ahead.
Don't shock yourselves. I don't know. I'm just thinking about like electric plugs at this point, but I'm curious on seeing what you managed to title this podcast. Thanks for having me here. It's been a wonderful time to just chill out with a friend and talk.
Yeah. So, I will be glad to have you again whenever me or Sarah will be unable to record. So
I'm glad to have substituted for Sarah for today.
Yeah. So thank you for coming over, and that has been this episode of Just a Couple Thoughts. Bye, guys.
See you later.